Good evening and welcome to the programme. London's housing problems are in the spotlight today after the BBC learnt that Newham Council asked a housing association in the Midlands to take families away from the capital. Stoke-on-Trent refused the request, saying it was a form of social cleansing. So what's causing the problem? Well, in London there are more than 350,000 families on the social housing waiting list, and the situation isn't improving. And it's argued the problem is being made worse by the government introducing a housing benefit cap of £400 a week. Many people believe that's not high enough, as it's estimated that over 130,000 households won't be able to afford their rent. The situation has led to calls for a big shake-up of the way housing in London is allocated and managed. Tonight, we'll ask three of the mayoral candidates what they're going to do about it. But first, our political editor, Tim Donovan, assesses the issues.
Parents picking up their children from this primary school in Westminster today. They've seen the effect of the housing benefit cap close up. Several families have pulled their children out of here recently because they've had to move. Others look like following.
Most of my friends, they have a private house. They are going to move because they reduce the tenant. It's too much.
Of course, it's a worrying thing for everybody. Like, if you have to move out, the children, they are going to schools, they have to leave their schools, the people who are living there for years and years, and then you have to move out to some strange area where you don't know anybody.
It's the cases in the headlines of big families claiming big sums in housing benefit each week, which the government says makes people angry and prompted this cap.
Good morning.
Good morning, Vanessa.
Boris Johnson said Kosovo-style social cleansing wouldn't happen, but on the ground, councils like Newham only today say they're already seeing significant shifts in population. The problem is there isn't enough housing that people can afford to buy or rent. Ken Livingstone's second term saw 49,500 affordable homes built, using £3.2 billion of government money. Boris Johnson says 57,000 affordable homes will have been built during his time, using £4.3 billion, a third more funding. But public money for housing is now being cut in half. Instead, councils and housing associations are being allowed to charge rents at 80% of private rent levels in London, which some argue will put rented homes further out of reach of many.
80% of market rent, which is still counted as affordable. To be able to pay that, you need to be earning £44,500 a year as a household income. And if you consider that the median household income in London is around about 30 to 31,000, you can see that, well over half of Londoners can't afford that.
The Mayor has just been given new powers and control over 500 hectares of public land to develop. Now there are calls for a new Mayor-led Homes for London agency.
It'll be a similar idea as Transport for London, one place, one website where people can go get that information, where the Mayor can own housing in London, because it's such a huge issue for every Londoner, wherever they are.
Arguably, housing in the capital is the most intractable problem facing whoever wins next week. Tim Donovan, BBC London News.
So it's a major issue and hundreds of thousands of Londoners are suffering at the sharp end. Nick Beake's been talking to some of them.
It's not just in Newham where there isn't enough social housing. 26-year-old Dana from Lambeth was on the waiting list for 7 long years.
I was low priority because I didn't have any kids, a criminal record, and I wasn't claiming full benefits. So they basically just said, right, you're on the list, but you're low priority, go and work and find private accommodation. So I did.
It's only now the council's finally found her a flat.
I do see what they're calling affordable housing, what they're claiming is affordable housing, but it's the allocation of that housing. I don't think it's going to the people that work hard.
Midwife Alice is also 26. She rents in Southwark with her boyfriend who works for a bank. They'd love to buy, and between them they earn £65,000 a year, but still can't afford the deposit that mortgage lenders demand.
Just the way things are at the moment, it's just an impossible task to try and find what would probably be about 40 grand. Is just so difficult without help from your parents.
If and when she is able to buy, her London life will be very different.
It would be probably in an area that we wouldn't want to live in so much, and in a flat or a house that we wouldn't like so much, potentially, with maybe less good schools if we ever wanted to have kids, and probably less good transport links and things as well.
Physiotherapist Caroline moved out to the suburbs before 4-year-old Larissa was born, but she and her husband say their Merton home is now too small and they're stuck here.
We don't have a spare room for any relatives to come and stay, and we haven't got a garden, which we'd love to be able to offer. And to be able to get those, just one spare bedroom and a moderate-sized garden would cost us twice the amount of money that we spent on initially buying this property, so it would be over £600,000.
Like thousands of Londoners, she faces expensive childcare, rising fares, food and fuel. Caroline says she's disappointed with politicians about the lack of help for housing. Nick Beak, BBC London News.
Well, we asked the three main mayoral candidates to come in and debate this. Boris Johnson, Ken Livingstone and Brian Paddick are all with me now. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming in. Boris Johnson, you said that you'd not accept Kosovo-style social cleansing. You'd emphatically resist, is what you said. But as we saw there, you must be disappointed because, in effect, this is starting to happen.
Well, we haven't yet seen that, and in Newham, I hope very much that we won't see that. I don't think it is right that families in Newham should be sent to Stoke-on-Trent or indeed anywhere else. And what we got from the government was a delay in the implementation of the benefit cap. We got considerable sums, about 100 million, to mitigate the impact, and the ability to negotiate directly with the landlords in order to drive down the rents. The critical thing, as you saw from the clip just now, lots of people in London are facing huge anxiety and stress because of the desperate shortage of housing. We need to build more affordable homes, and that is exactly what we're going to do.
You did say on your watch you won't see thousands of families evicted from the place they've been living, and that was 18 months ago you said that. What have you actually done about it? Well,
don't forget that we're not seeing that. And what Newham are doing, none of these families have yet gone to Stoke-on-Trent, and I don't think that they should. I think that
families are moving out,
resisted.
for example, out of Westminster, further out.
There is continual churn and movement in the housing benefit system, but we're not yet seeing migrations on the scale that I vowed to resist, and I will resist. And what we did, just to remind you, was we not only got the mitigations I described, we also got the Homes and Communities Agency budgets together with the LDA land to create Homes for London, which we will have within the GLA. That's 530 hectares of land we will bring forward for development, and that is the best and most effective way forward.
Let me ask Ken Livingstone, what would you do about it?
Well, we're in this mess because for 30 years under Thatcher and Blair, councils weren't allowed to build good council homes to rent. This is what we've got to start. We need to be looking at least 35,000 homes, perhaps nearer 50,000 for a decade, to break the back of this crisis.
How are you going to do that when in your last term you built almost 50,000
We didn't have any housing
homes?
powers in last term. When I was elected mayor, there was actually a clause that the mayor will have no responsibility for housing.
So how are you going to do it?
Oh, that's now been removed. As Boris said, we've now got serious powers for the mayor. Well, whoever wins will get it, actually, Boris. It's not inherited.
You didn't get the powers, I did.
But Boris, let's have it. This should be something we agree on. The thing is to build the homes. I think we all agree. We've got to access pension funds. We won't get money out of government to build this. We've got the land there. But that will take years. We've got to act now on the landlords.
Sorry, how are you going to access these pension funds?
Pension funds, it's a much sounder investment. And I think this government and the Lib Dems and myself, we're all broadly exploring this area. Access pension fund money, it's a safer investment for the pension fund, but the thing is that's still going to take years.
Is it realistic?
Absolutely realistic. Pension funds are already talking to us about it. But the key is you've got to deal with the landlords. We shouldn't be capping the benefit. We should cap the rents. The landlords have been given a green light to jack the rents up way below, and that's what I will do. We will bring in a mayor's lettings agency, work with the good landlords and start to squeeze out the bad ones.
Let me ask Brian Paddick, do you agree with the benefit cap that was introduced by the coalition government?
No, I don't. Housing is far more expensive.
So you disagree with your own party?
Absolutely, I do. Because housing, as everybody knows, is far more expensive in London than it is anywhere else in the country. And to have one cap universally applied across the whole country does not make sense. But the most important thing, to help people who want to buy their own homes...
But what can you do about it when it's government policy?
Well, we have to argue with government, with my colleagues who are currently ministers, argue with the Deputy Prime Minister and show them, you know, it is common sense, surely.
So you would lobby them?
I would definitely lobby them, but what we need to do in order to help people buy their own homes, to reduce rents in the private sector, is to build more homes. And we've identified enough brownfield sites in London to build 360,000 new homes over the next 10 years.
So of those, how many are affordable homes?
At least half of them. Majority of those will be affordable homes using land that the Mayor currently owns. 60% of the cost of building homes in London is the land cost. That means we can build for 40% of the cost and rent for 40% of the market rate.
Do you agree we can build that number of affordable homes?
We can do about 32,500 homes per year.
According to Brian's figures, we need 72,000 affordable homes.
I'm not sure that's exactly what he
Well,
just said.
over a term, yes.
Over a term, yes, certainly. Over a term. Don't forget, we have done, with great respect to my old chum here on my right, we have done in the last 4 years a record number of affordable homes.
But it's not affordable.
It's, well,
Yes,
that's what well, you saw. There was quite an interesting.
Gentlemen, of course, the budget was bigger at the time, but time is short. Let me ask you this. One thing that we keep hearing from Londoners time and time again is that affordable homes aren't necessarily affordable in London. So a week before the election, tell me, each of you, what are you going to do about it, very briefly?
I was out in Hornchurch, where an old GLC estate has been modernised by a good housing association. A 3-bedroom, brand new property is going for £90 a week, and that's the sort of range we need to be looking at if Londoners are going to be able to afford to live in their own city.
We're going to increase the number of accredited landlords in order to drive down rents for people across the city, and above all, we are going to build more new affordable homes. And I'm very proud that we've got the HCA land together with the LDA. We'll be able to do, as I say, more than 30,000 new homes every year in the next 4 years.
Sorry, Mr. Paddock. So will you tell the Minister that he's wrong in what he's doing?
Yes.
What? Which you mean the Mayor of Newham?
The answer is yes.
The Minister.
You mean you're the Labour? You mean the Labour Mayor of Newham? Yes, I will.
Well, what about your own Minister?
If you mean the Labour, if you mean that the Labour, if you mean come on,
Mr. Johnson, are you going to tell the Minister Grant Shapps that he's wrong?
I will certainly tell Grant Shapps that he's wrong if he does anything to jeopardise the interests of London. And as everybody, and these two gentlemen know full well, I fought to stop the government bringing in that measure in a precipitate way, and we've saved Londoners time and money.
Very briefly, what are you going to do?
These two guys are simply not ambitious enough. We need to have a massive social house building programme so that every Londoner can have a decent home that they can genuinely afford.
So you're going to build more homes than either of them did in their term?
Absolutely.
OK. To all three of you, many thanks indeed for joining us. Thank you. And a reminder, there are 7 candidates in total standing for Mayor on May the 3rd. That list is also on our website, where you'll find more information about the election. Plenty more ahead tonight.